Hey, this is Lou Mangello from WDW Radio, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. Let's do this.
The dances this week continue all the way to episode 533 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. Is this amusement for you or self-loathing? Categorizing the sharks that might one day tear you apart. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week by the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Bengal. This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hopefully everyone had a safe and fun 4th of July, if you are someplace that celebrates that. So our poor hope, yeah, let's say, yeah. It was very, very hot here, and then we had a pop-up thunderstorm late afternoon, early evening that forced us all inside because we were having a barbecue. So we all had to come inside for a little bit.
How did the pupperinos?
The dogs hate thunderstorms to begin with, and then after it stopped raining, then the fireworks started going off. So they were not having it.
No, I was and
apparently, Chauncey looked up the noise ordinance for our area, and legally people were allowed to set off fireworks until July 9th.
Ooh.
So our poor dogs had to deal with fireworks Wednesday. Almost on a nightly basis since the end of June, essentially.
Oh, so, God. Yikes!
Yeah, they were not enjoying it. So we did our best to keep them distracted. They have thunder vests, which we use that both for thunder and for fireworks. And then we ended up getting some dog safe melatonin chews for them for the actual 4th, which I think that helped as well. So River tends to react more physically more. Derby, he'll just bark. There'll be a loud boom, whether it's a firework or a peal of thunder, and he just barks back like it's like he's having an argument with it. So
right, yeah. Oh, you want to see who's louder? Well, I'll show you. Bring it.
Yeah, River, she'll just sit. Yeah, sometimes she'll go and hide. She'll hide under the bed occasionally, but usually she just sits there. You think maybe she's just nonchalant about it till you get close enough and you realize she's shaking like a leaf.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you decide to set off fireworks and you live in a residential area, please keep that in mind.
Yes.
Not just pets, but small children. People who maybe,
war veterans.
People who work off hours and maybe trying to sleep.
That too.
So it's you want to set off the things that make maybe a little bit of noise and make a bunch of sparkles and stuff. That's great, but you don't need to be doing your own personal Disneyland fireworks show in your driveway.
Right. Or do that when people aren't going to be home and not resting.
Yeah. Which is kind of hard to do considering
right.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that people in the entire neighborhood could probably hear.
Yeah.
Because we could hear it. It wasn't necessarily people on our street.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got the semi-professional baseball field, maybe 5, 6, maybe 10 blocks away.
Yeah.
I can hear those they're right next to the house when they have their
when the city has theirs, we can hear it, and it is a good probably mile away. So we can't see it, but we can definitely hear it. And if our human ears can hear it, then the dog's ears can hear it. So
big time.
But at least that we know it's going to happen. We know what it's scheduled. there's you
Right.
see signs for it, everything, and all over the place.
Yes.
You're like, you know when it's going to happen, you know the date, you know the time, and you can try to plan accordingly. It's the people that just randomly do it at their house.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so there's your little PSA.
Yes.
For folks, just a friendly reminder.
Yes.
So can you tell we're stalling because we don't want to talk about this 10 o'clock news?
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
So, it's like
Couple pieces of 10 o'clock news.
yeah. So yeah, it's
Well,
been
what happened to one was announced today, and then one was last week.
who was last week? I forgot. I've already forgotten already.
Bonnie Tyler.
Oh
Total
yeah.
Eclipse of the Heart.
Yeah.
And
I could
Holding Out for
that
a
was
Hero.
late last week. Yeah. So yeah, this is her some of her biggest hits are quite the soundtrack. So for a lot of things. Heck, they were using the last cruise. Yeah, the last Disney cruise we went on. They were doing something. Oh, they were doing a baby race. They were doing baby races is what they were doing. They were doing baby races in the atrium. Yeah, so fastest baby wins. Bragging rights, I guess, for the rest of the cruise. But of course, to make it more fun, they got some Disney characters and they got to make it a whole thing, like almost like an Olympic type thing. So they had some characters come out and they played Holding Out for a Hero because it's like, oh, these babies are so fast and strong. Look at them crawl, that sort of thing. So that's what I was thinking when I hear it now. It's racing babies.
And that's a cute little mental image.
Yeah. And of course, Total Eclipse of the Heart is just it's just a jam, and obviously had a big resurgence several years ago when we had the big lunar eclipse.
Solar lunar eclipse. Yep. I mean, Jim Steinman.
Pretty much any eclipse, actually, but like the last big, what was that, 2018?
Yeah, I believe so.
The big lunar eclipse that could be seen by most of the country. The entire country shut down, so everybody could be stop where you are and watch the eclipse. That I think she did a cruise or something, and they went.
I think so.
She sang that right before the eclipse started, so they could all watch it on the cruise ship. So.
Yep. Jim Steinman did her some favors with the songs that she did. Meatloaf was a little jealous because he's like, Total Eclipse of the Heart should have been mine. She's like, sorry, I liked it.
Yeah.
I got it first.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, today's was
I did not see that coming, but he'd been ill for a while though too.
Yeah, and at one point it seemed like he had at least been temporarily been given the the all clear. Maybe not a clean bill of health, but hey, you're not doing too bad right now. But yeah, Sam Neill has passed away at the age of 78. But yeah, he'd been battling cancer for a few years, and was getting treatment, and then he had stopped working, but was still, he'd pop up occasionally. Obviously they had the what was it, Verizon?
Yes.
The Super Bowl commercials. The Jurassic Park commercials, Super Bowl commercials. So
with the little dodgy AI, but I mean it was enjoyable for what it was.
Yeah. So obviously Jurassic Park kind of being the big one. So
I think he was in the piano.
Yeah, Event Horizon I know is kind of a big one there for some folks, but quite the prolific actor, and is fairly active on social media-ish.
Mm-hmm.
He had been on social, at least on like Instagram and stuff. He hadn't been on it for very long. But he'd post like videos of himself. He had a farm or an orchard or something like that. And he showed videos of himself putting around on his little truck thing.
And I
And
think
he's got a few with somebody wearing one of those inflatable Tyrannosaurus outfits.
Yeah. Well, and then there was a picture of him, and I can't remember if it was like a warthog or some sort of porcine creatures. It's like something along the lines, if you aren't feeling good, we're hoping you're having a good day. And it's both him and the pig or boar smiling.
Yeah. Happier than a pig in slop.
Yep.
Or something like that.
That, yeah.
But yeah, that's yeah, it's slightly easier when you know the person had been ill, but at the same time it's like, oh, he seemed to be getting not necessarily better, but being able to function and stay busy at home and stuff. He's got a couple kids. He's got like 6 grandchildren or something like that. So he's got a family to keep him busy. And like I said, he's got some land that he'd putter around in and show occasionally on the social medias. So occasionally he would show up on other people's social medias, especially Jeff Goldblum's. So but yeah, spare no expense, I guess, for when you pour one out for Sam Neill. I was a particularly enamored with oh god, this is back when I was in junior high school when they did the Merlin miniseries.
Oh yes, because he was in that, because it was Hallmark based, wasn't it?
I don't remember who exactly did it, but
I think it might have been Hallmark or NBC did it. I think one of the two.
It was on NBC. Yeah, because I was able to record it on VHS on the VCR. How long ago that was?
Yep.
And I watched that. I don't know how many times, to be honest with you. So. And it really wasn't for Sam Neill. I was having a Martin Short phase, so he's in it too. So I was like, so that's kind of sad, a little bittersweet actually too, because his 2 well, they're not children anymore, but at the time, child co-stars from the OG Jurassic Park, both of them are actually going to be at GalaxyCon at Columbus in December. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah. So be a little bittersweet with them there, knowing he's gone, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Well, and that's really kind of it. So, because like a lot of our IPs and stuff are getting ready for all the fandom Christmases.
Yeah.
So we've got Fandom Christmas coming up very quickly. The OG Fandom Christmas coming up very quickly, and there might be some Marvel stuff. I think they're gonna have at least a little bit of an appearance. From what I've seen, not anything official, obviously, but just the word on the street. By street, I mean internet.
And sometimes those sources can be pretty accurate, even though sometimes we don't want them to be.
Yes. Yeah. So there might be some Marvel stuff. I do believe that we just today we got to do a movie poster and the description. As hilarious it is for Spaceballs 2, but I believe they are going to have a presence at San Diego Comic-Con.
Ooh, cool.
From what I believe I saw Josh Gad post something about that. So
yes, I loved one of the comments in the group chat that we posted it, and it's just like, still proving they ain't found bleak.
Ain't found shit. They're still combing that desert.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see as we get much closer to San Diego. We'll get like schedule like Hall H and stuff like that. And I know Disney has been reminding people that their equivalent of Fandom Christmas. I'm still going to be calling it D23 Expo. I know they changed the name technically, but
what did they change it to?
Once you name something, it's really it's really hard to want to try to adapt to. It is now called the, let me get it right. It is the ultimate Disney. It's D23, the ultimate Disney fan event.
Just stick with D23.
Well,
a little bit easier.
I mean, why? What's wrong with the word expo?
Or like, that?
Yeah. It's
Disney
the
Expo.
ultimate Disney fan event. Yeah, it's D23 Expo. So I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, they've been posting stuff just mostly reminding people of who the Disney legends for this year are. That seems to be a big focus for them, is I guess they want butts and seats for the award ceremony. I don't know. Especially considering the award ceremony is not taking place in like the same big venue that they do like the big presentations, I guess. Like, hey, reminder, this is a thing too. You just have to go to a different room, different location. But yeah, that's exciting. Double fandom Christmas.
Woo woo.
It's always exciting. So there is that. And we are in a new month, which means book club.
Yep. Just a second. Let me pull that up. It is Brittany's pick for her Brittany's birthday pick is the book that we are listening to this month. So, shoot, hold on. Of course, you're giving me grief and not wanting to pull up like I want you to. I had you pulled up and then you decided, well, I had it pulled up and then it decided I'm going to close on you. So you got to open back up again. And now I'm going to be a little pain in the tuchus.
Of course. Of course.
The Company of Friends. That is what our book, our audiobook of the month is.
Nice.
And also a little FYI for those who do have the big Finish app. It does sound like the Google Android version of app is up for they said to log out, to not delete and try to reinstall, just do the upgrade or do the update, then log back in, and then everything should be fine. That's what I did with I'm on the Apple, and I did the exact same thing, and that it worked beautifully. Though I think when I did the update, I think I forgot to log out, ran into an issue, but I was just able to log back out, log back in, and easily fixed. So
okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. So yeah.
Good to know.
And
then in the feeds for folks, or at least a Patreon for those that participate on Patreon. June's gold standard Patreon episode is there for you, and we talked about the Shawshank Redemption, which
nice.
Obviously we covered that on here too. I made sure to mention that. Especially considering when we did it, I was fresh off of the tour of the actual filming location, so I was able to give a lot more about the history of the location and everything. Unlike here, because it's been a couple of years. But both Zan and I cried for different reasons, but we both cried. So I've been listening to episodes of Talking Movies,
Okay.
which is a TCM Max podcast with Mr. Bogdanovich, uh host of everything TCM related. And he's talking with various celebrities about movies, and one of their things is they end every episode with what he calls the Super 8, and it's 8 questions that are movie related, and they've got more than 8, so it changes a little. You don't necessarily hear the same 8 questions every episode, but one of the questions that comes up often is, what is a movie that makes you cry every time? And it's like, if I ever talk to Mr. Bogdanovich here and he asks me that question, I'll be like, Shawshank. Guaranteed every time I will cry. So if you don't mind some sniffling from Zan and I, you can go subscribe on Patreon. And listen to that. So and then if you saw my post on Instagram, speaking of Instagram, just this past weekend I was at InConJunction, like I have been for the last now like 5 years running, I think, at least
maybe 6.
Yeah, something like that. So I know I've been doing the one panel for like 5 years now. And of course, this is a smaller, very local, homegrown science fiction literature, essentially like a science fiction fantasy literary convention. But the literary part, they keep that very loosey goosey. This was number 40 something. So, it's a fun convention. It almost feels like a family reunion, because it's essentially the same people every year. There's a very small but very dedicated regular group of people that come every year. So I see a lot of the same faces every year. For some people, this is the one time a year they see each other. And
time to catch up and
exactly. And the audience also tends to be a little on the older side. But there's nothing wrong with that. Once again, I had a table. I was in the same spot I have been for the last 3 years. So since they put us in this particular ballroom, I guess, at the hotel. Of course, it was freezing. It was 63, 65 degrees in there the entire weekend. Very cold. But my table was in the same place because I'm like, I want to be across from the dogs. Because they have a table set up for vendors to check in, get their badges, find out where their booth is set up, that sort of thing. So it's essentially operations for vendors. But one of the people involved with the convention always brings their dogs, and they hang out in the area. And now there's 3 of them, actually. So it's 2 brothers, and now they've got another brother. So little Cerberus like. They're good dogs, and other people bring their dogs too. The hotel is dog friendly, pet friendly. So I mean, I've seen people with dogs. I've seen people with birds. So but it was like, I want to be across with the dogs. So that's where they put me. And it's just always kind of a crapshoot and who is like the next closest booth to me. And not knowing that we know each other, they put Tony Troxel right next to me. So he was my neighbor the entire weekend. So
Very cool.
Tony from
Nice.
geeking in Indiana. Troxel's trading post now. He sells 3D prints. So he was there with his kid who was helping out. And so we got to be proximity floor space buddies for the entire weekend. I'm like, did they know we know each other and have known each other for like a very long time? He's like, no, I don't think so.
How can we make sure this request goes through till next year or for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, really. I'm going to put that on. I still got to fill out the survey. That's where I usually put, it's like, yes, I will be back next year. Put me across from the dogs. I'm also going to have to put a second line now and put Tony right next to me. So if he's there.
Right.
This was only his second year doing this particular convention. So, but I did 4 panels over the course of the weekend. So I did 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Not terrible, all things considering. So I got there Friday and got myself all set up, and then manned my table until it was time for Friday's panel, which was mental health and creatives. I'll give you the description. Creatives will discuss how their mental health influences their work, how their work influences their mental health, and techniques they use to maintain sanity doing non-traditional work in an insane world. So that was a really interesting and a fun panel. It doesn't seem like maybe the topic would be fun, but it actually is. Once you get rid of the stigma behind it, it's kind of comforting and amusing to see, especially the crowd that goes to this convention on a regular basis. It's like we're all very cut from the same cloth, aren't we? You don't feel like you're alone once you get to talking about these sort of things. It's like, oh, you have social anxiety, so do I. Yay! Yeah. You're autistic, I'm autistic. Autism together. Yeah. So that was a productive and culture building, I guess, panel. And then Saturday's morning's panel was nurturing mental wellness. In this panel, panelists will discuss ways of dealing with mental illness while attending conventions. So again, very communal as far as the discussion. It's not like one person's sitting in front of a bunch of other just spouting off information. Very conversational, as it were. And then Saturday afternoon's panel was Behaving Badly, Art and Ethics. Can we still enjoy the art of problematic people? Our panelists discuss authors, filmmakers, actors, and more who have damaged their reputations by acting unethically. Which, whoever was supposed to moderate that particular panel if somebody had volunteered to moderate that panel, they didn't show up. It could be just someone suggested the topic and it wasn't necessarily like I want to lead this one. But I was there and one of the other panelists was there, and we had probably maybe 6 other people. And we had quite a lively yet polite discussion. A lot of it just because of the time, and I think because of the event we were at. Most of our discussion dealt with 2 very current individuals, both in the literary world, that are not on people's Christmas cards lists anymore, to put it mildly. So they tended to be kind of the bar, the example that we use. Of course, we also looked back into people like Lovecraft, who turned out to be very racist, and some others. But it was quite an interesting discussion. And like I said, all things considering, even though we weren't all on the same page on where we draw the line, I think that's also kind of the point, is, ultimately where we ended up, our thesis, as it were. The moral of the story is it's so subjective when it comes to these things. It's like not everybody could draw the line at the same place. But if you can talk calmly to another person, then we'll be all better off for it. And we were able to do that. So I will call that a win. The other thing, first of all, Saturday morning, Mother Nature decided it needed to pour buckets and have a very strong and loud thunderstorm. So I'm up trying to get ready for the day, make sure I have all my crap, get my water bottle and my snacks and stuff
and
to take with me.
Down.
Derby is having a fit. He's barking every time the thunder claps. Chauncey ended up waking up because of all the ruckus and everything, which actually ended up helping quite a bit. Because I had the bright idea that I was going to take River with me, which she did not enjoy the walk from the front door to the car, because it was raining so hard.
You didn't pick me up,
right?
Well, I words later.
I carried her to the car, but even then, putting her in the car and trying to get her in her spot, and we've got latches for the dogs so that they're attached to the seatbelt mechanism,
so they don't come up and help you drive.
They can't try and wander around in the car, and they're more secure and that sort of thing. So it's closest to getting your dog to wear a seatbelt. And I'm trying to do that, and I'm I got the door open to the car, obviously, because I need to be able to reach in and get her situated and clasp and carabiner and all that fun stuff. And I'm getting drenched, and she's like, the water's getting in the door, Mom. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
You're not being a good umbrella.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I got all my crap too that I'm trying to carry with me, all the stuff I was taking to make sure that she would be comfortable the entire day. So thankfully, once we got to the hotel, over by the hotel, it was not storming. It was still raining, but it was not raining as hard. So the walk inside was a little better. But it was still storming. So I had to put her, take off the harness that she wears in the car, and then put her thunder shirt on. So she was wearing her thunder shirt when she went with me to the first panel. But then things had calmed down, so I was able to take the thunder vest off. So she had to wear it the entire day. I had taken a cushion for her to lay on, which I don't think she barely touched. I had water bowl for her. I had snacks, a bone for her to chew on, that sort of thing. But because she's not had a lot of socialization before she came to us, whenever we get the opportunity to take one, if not both, out somewhere to get them more socialized, we do. And I knew that between the two, which Derby ended up getting sick anyway, so he wouldn't have been able to go. But even then, even if he'd been feeling well, with the other dogs there, I knew he was going to be too much of a brat. Between the two. So I was like, I'm gonna take River because she's gonna be the more calm of the two in a strange situation, in a strange place she's never been before, around dogs she's never met before. And she was a real trooper. I mean, every so often I would take her outside to go to the bathroom. And she was always very good about going in the grass and then coming in and just kind of plopping on the ground, near me. I'd loop the leash. I just kept her clipped to the leash and looped the leash around the legs of my chair. So she had a little bit of wiggle room to be able to walk, but she couldn't walk too far away. And then Tony was there, and then Tony's got his kid. I mean, Cat's 17, but still. So River and Cat became really good friends throughout the day. So there are a few times
I like you.
there are a few times where I'd have to have some, the cat or somebody else watch her so that I could go to the bathroom, because I tried to take her into the bathroom once, and she's like, "No, I don't like this." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine."
Too much noise.
Public bathrooms, true, that's a step too far. No problem. So, but no, she was a real good sport. She enjoyed sniffing everything. I mean, it's a hotel, so there's going to be all sorts of unique smells. I don't think she's ever been in a hotel before, so there was a lot there. She was very wary about the doors going in and out at first. So because like commercial buildings, they get the big doors that you got to pull on, and they swing open, and they've got like that threshold that's probably like a good 3-4 inches like wide, that's usually metal, to help differentiate the door jam and all that fun stuff. And for whatever reason, she would jump over it. Her logic, not mine. And she let once she got more comfortable, she had no problem letting people pet her. Obviously, people always ask first, which is always nice. So she got a lot of pets, a lot of scratches, a lot of loving, which she absolutely loves. She loves head scratches. So I mean, at home, if I start I have to be very careful about if when I if she's like sitting next to me or whatever, giving her a head scratch, because Derby will play fetch until he collapses. River will demand head scratches until you rub her head bald.
Raw. Yeah.
Raw.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, that sounds familiar too. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you can start giving her, it's like people are like, does she like scratches? I'm like, yes, but be aware that once you start, she may not let you walk away.
Yes.
So she will put her face near your hand, nudge your hand with her nose, and be like, "Hey, keep scratching.
I'm here. Yes. Your job's not done."
Yeah. I took, because Kat would be like on the floor, just kind of chilling, playing on their phone and stuff, and occasionally give her scratches. And then I told Kat, I'm like, she is going to, if you pull your hand away, she's gonna nudge it with her nose and demand more, and she would. And I was like, the best thing you could do, hide your hands. If she can't see your hands, she'll leave you alone, is the thing. So Kat had on one of those onesie jumpsuit things that look like animals. Kat's was a whatever the water Eevee evolution is, the Vaporeon. And it's got pockets. So Kat was like, hands in the pockets. River's like, okay, no more scratches. There's no hands.
See, my dogs are more stubborn. Like, they would grab my arm with their paw and try to pull it out of the pocket.
Oh, yeah. So she hasn't quite, I don't know if it's just like, that's just, she's aware that that's the sign that it's like, okay, we're done. Or if she just hasn't figured out that, the hands are still there, she just can't see them. Not that I'm going to tell her that, because then that means that she, if she figures that out, then I'm gonna have to like quit doing everything in my entire life and just become a full-time head scratcher for this dog. But thankfully, because there were so many people there, saw her and be like, oh, she's so cute. And some people were like, oh my God, a corgi. And then some people were like, what is she? Or like, is she mixed with something? Like, no, she's a full corgi. So she just happens to have long hair. But nope, she is corgi. I mean, she was on the longer side too, and she looks longer.
Mm-hmm.
I think she looks also even longer because she has her tail, and her tail is so fluffy. I think it just makes her look like so much longer than she probably actually is if I bothered to take a tape measure to her to see how long she is. She's probably on the close to the max of what's considered standard length for corgis, but I'm pretty sure she's still within the range. But yeah, she had a very full, eventful day, being doted on like the princess that she is. I took her home and she got dinner and about crashed. She was so tired just from all the peopling. No. And then Sunday, I didn't take her back with me because it was the last day I was gonna have to tear down everything and load it in the car, and she was exhausted anyway. I didn't want to try to put her through a second day anyway. But Sunday was my panel that I had submitted. Like I said, I think this is my 5th year doing this particular panel, from sci-fi to Wi-Fi, how geeky women have been making their mark throughout history. Or I guess after the first year, it's how more geeky women are making their mark throughout history. And this is a panel that came out of even before the idea for the book. It was just one of those like, oh, this would make for an interesting panel and be appropriate for InConJunction. And I went over so well that I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm like, there's so many women. Like this panel could go on for ages and ages and ages and ages. So it's a different group of women every time. It's broken into 3 parts. So I have women from pre-20th century. So that can be anything from the 1800s all the way back to the start of civilization, if we've got historical records of someone. And then the second section is 20th century to mid-century. And then the last one is mid-century to current time. And I've had to tweak it. the number of ladies. My very first one, I tried to cram so many women into the first iteration. And I thought I had it pretty fine-tuned this year, and I still went over time. Not by a whole lot, but I still went over my allotted time. Just because there was just so much interesting things to talk about. So, and some of these ladies, are going to be names that you might recognize, and some maybe that you don't, especially when you're talking about the from very, very, very far back, where historical records are a bit more iffy, and then also new, modern, because they're just now starting to make a name for themselves and being recognized for their achievements. So, but it's a fun panel. I enjoy giving it every year and getting to see people's reactions, see if they like recognize a name, or go, oh, I didn't know that person, that was done by that person, whether it's an invention or something. So but I did that Sunday, first thing, and then I was just in the vendor hall until it was time to tear everything down and go home. And I came home and crashed because I was tired. 3rd day of a convention, plus I had a FIFA hangover because Argentina and Switzerland decided they needed to go into extra time the night before, and the match the match started at 9 p.m. So yeah, I went to bed a little later than I would have cared to do Saturday night. thanks to second match in a row that Argentina has, whoever Argentina is playing has forced it to go into extra time, or Argentina's forced it to go in extra time. So, oy. So, thankfully, when they play on Wednesday, it's in the middle of the day. So if it goes in extra time, it won't be going into the middle of the night. Oh yeah, it was InConJunction. Like I said, very chill, very low key and laid back. It's an easy convention, but it's still fun. I don't know if they're going to be back to whatever weekend in July is closest to the 4th of July next year. There's some scheduling issues with the hotel this year, so that's why it was a weekend later than it normally would be. But at the same time, people also were like, because sometimes it actually falls, the 4th of July actually falls into the weekend of the convention, and some people are like, 4th of July, people may have plans, spend time with family. A lot of family reunions happen that time of year sometimes. Weddings. There was a really big wedding in New York City on July 3rd. So, you may have heard about it. 1,000 people. So, be kind of a busy weekend for people. But I'll, knock on wood, I'll be there again next year, whatever weekend that happens to be. There is that. So we need to get to feedback. Feedback from Shalane. She says, "Hello, ladies. Hope you girls are surviving the heat. I love the heat. I do too, because you know what? My joints are not yelling at me. I know for some people there are certain conditions where it doesn't matter. You're going to hurt no matter what, like the weather may be. But in my case, once it gets, 60, 70 plus degrees on a regular basis, like my knees and everything are so much happier. Yeah. I know people are like, well, in the summer, you can only take off so much clothing. In the winter, at least you can put on layers. I'm like, there are not enough layers in the world to keep my knees from screaming when it's the middle of January. So, I will take the heat. Please and thank you. She says, they don't call me Summer Shalane for no reason. Plus, I didn't know what time you recorded your birthday episode. That's not a problem. That's okay. Anyway, here's some feedback I forgot to mention for your birthday episode. Remember when your girl said we didn't need Toy Story 4 or Toy Story 5? Well, maybe we do, because Disney and Pixar seem to be using these movies to answer fan questions and theories. I saw Toy Story 5 and loved it. No spoilers, but I heard it includes more of Jessie's backstory with her first owner, Emily. Maybe we'll finally find out if the old fan theory that Andy's mom was Emily is true. I haven't seen it yet. It reminds me of the old theory that Tarzan was Anna and Elsa's brother, but that theory doesn't really work anymore because Frozen 2 showed what actually happened to Anna and Elsa's parents. I think Disney and Pixar are starting to answer a lot of questions fans have had for years. People still wonder things like, why doesn't Anna have powers? Who are Kristoff's parents? Maybe we'll learn more when Frozen 3 comes out. Maybe. Also, go watch the Tangled TV series because it answers a lot of fan questions too. And honestly, it was probably good that Disney made live-action versions of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin because it expanded on Belle's mother and Jasmine's mother. Same goes for Mufasa, which gave us more of his backstory. That's fair. Here are the only things I've seen David Chase in Lilo and Stitch is Spirited Away. I'm sad we won't get to see her at a convention. Speaking of conventions, the Spirited Away, I'm still waiting for Jason Marsden to come to Salt Lake Fan X. He's the original voice of Max Goof and was also involved with Spirited Away. He's one of the voice actors I wanted to meet who still hasn't come to Fan X yet. Maybe one day. It's only a matter of time, I'm sure. So I've met Jason. It's very nice. So here are some of the books I'm planning to read for the rest of the year. Janet McCurdy's new book, David Archuleta's book, the upcoming Lilo and Stitch and Encanto Twisted Tales books, Disney Villains book number 13 if it comes out this year. Going back to gold standards, since Chrissy has been a guest and has mostly picked animated movies so far, I think 2 live-action movies she might choose are A Knight's Tale and Chronicles of Narnia. Also, I actually think Die Hard works better in July. Christmas in July. Going back to Spirited Away, I realized something interesting. A lot of animated movies take place in foreign countries, but are still made in the United States. For example, Mulan takes place in China. Coco takes place in Mexico. Anastasia takes place in Russian Parrots. K-pop Demon Hunters takes place in Korea. The Spirited Away takes place in Japan and was actually made in Japan. Then the English dub was created in the United States. Same goes for many Studio Ghibli films and anime series. Well, that's because they're based in Japan, I believe. Their home studio is still in Japan. I think Big Hero 6 is one of the few American animated movies that combines Tokyo and San Francisco into its setting. Yep. And you can there is a San Francisco section both at Disney's California Adventure, which I really enjoy. But there's a San Francisco section on the Disney, the new ship that they just christened earlier this year. That I blanking on the name. It has a San Francisco theme section, which is cool. I want to get back on the cruise ships. Here's another thing I've noticed. Years ago, movies would come to theaters, stay there for a while, then months later, we'd see TV commercials announcing the DVD release. Now it feels like movies hit theaters and arrive on digital a month later, then streaming shortly after that, and eventually physical media. Sometimes you still get ads for digital releases and physical releases, but it feels very different than it used to. Also, I think dollar theaters have mostly disappeared now. Yes. I have one, discounted, surely you cannot see a movie for $1 anymore, but discounted movie theater where it shows stuff after it's had its initial run in the theaters. I haven't been to that theater in a long time, though. I think they remodeled it, so it's nicer. They try to make it so it feels like the big theaters, even though it's not, your first run big mega super duper 5,000 screen type theater. But yeah, I remember going to the dollar theater as a kid. My mom being excited because single mom, trying to raise a couple of kids, money's tights, and wanting to being able to go to the movies, but going to the dollar theater, which was slightly out of our way, but worth it because of how much cheaper it was. So it's right next to a miniature golf course too. There were some times where she could get coupons for the miniature golf course, so sometimes we'd go to a movie and then play miniature golf, or vice versa. Nice little outing. Yeah, now it's just getting eyes on the properties, on the films, however that works. So I think they put them in the movie theater just long enough to try to make their money back, if not a slight profit, and then they're like, okay, let's go streaming now. Probably hoping that people will watch things over and over if they can watch it at home. So speaking of new movies, since we're getting Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday, I've been researching where all the MCU projects fit after Endgame. And yes, I researched, not created. Last time I think you girls thought I made the timeline myself. The basic takeaway is that most of Disney and post-Endgame stories take place between 2023 and 2027 in the MCU timeline, with shows like WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, Agatha All Along, Daredevil, Born Again, and the newer films all fitting into that time frame. If you don't believe me, go look it up like I did. I believe you. Also, The Devil Wears Prada is doing a double feature screening of the first and second movies to celebrate the anniversary. Sounds like a really fun theater experience, so that would be fun. Last thing, back in 2019, we had a huge year for box office movies: Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home, Toy Story 4, Jumanji The Next Level, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, Aladdin, The Lion King, and they were all big successes. Now this year we have Toy Story 5, The Mandalorian Grogu, Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man Brand New Day, live action Moana, and the new Jumanji. I think a lot of these are going to be box office successes too. So far, Toy Story 5 and The Mandalorian Grogu seem to be dominating the box office, which when she wrote this, that was probably the case. I know the new live action Moana didn't make a ton of money over the weekend. But from the people that, again, not critics, but people whose fans, whose opinions I respect, they say it's actually really good. It's comparatively to some of the other live action remakes. I think it fleshes out more of the story, I think, is what they've said. So, which, when you do a live action, if they're using the live action to do that, then that's great, to tell more of the story that they weren't able to tell in the animated version, like they did, with the live action Beauty and the Beast. We did get some more of the story. So did the prince still get a name? No. But beyond that, let's say officially, has the prince gotten a name? No, but that's okay. Will live. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what else. I imagine Spider-Man's gonna do well. I mean, it's Spider-Man. I mean, he's one of the most popular Marvel heroes ever to begin with. So, that's a big chunk of the reason why Sony has not given Disney the full rights to Spider-Man, because it prints money. Unless you're Madam Web, but we can't all be Gold Star winners, can we? But yeah, I imagine Spider-Man Brand New Day is going to do really well. We'll see about, I imagine Doomsday is going to do well too. The anticipation for that is real. It's very real. I mean, there's some other big movies. Christopher Nolan's adaptation of The Odyssey is due out soon-ish. We'll see how that does. Am I gonna go see it? Probably not. At least not in theaters. I may wait till it's available on streaming, because it's going to be a long movie, and odds are I'm gonna have to get up and go to the bathroom at some point. If I can pause.
Yeah, because I don't know if they're going to have any intermissions at all.
Yeah. So we'll see. We shall see how the second half of the year shakes out as far as box offices are concerned. So it's people's tastes can surprise you, I think, sometimes. All right. Well, speaking of Marvel, thank you, Shalane, for your feedback as always. Speaking of Marvel, and Spider-Man Brand New Day, we need to catch up a little with some of our Marvel streaming heroes. So we are going to recap, look at season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, as the battle between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk continues, this time with the return of my girl Jessica Jones. And the kind of short special episode of Punisher One Last Kill, which gets us caught up at where Frank is before Frank makes his appearance in Spider-Man Brand New Day. And Frank gets name dropped several times in season 2 of Daredevil as well. So, wondering what he's up to. Hey, we find out, at least on that particular day. It's not a good day for Frank. But first, we need to catch up with Matt and Karen, who are, doing the best they can to protect New York from the corruption that is Mayor Wilson Fisk. And not good at all. Not good at all. So, as we left the end of last season, Fisk had taken control of the port in Red Hook, and as we see in this, he is using it to smuggle weapons, very illegal, very powerful, very dangerous weapons. But Fisk is not necessarily doing the smuggling just because he can and because it'll make him money. As it turns out, he is working, I wouldn't say working along with, because it's a tenuous relationship at best, but because it's benefiting him too, he doesn't necessarily mind to a point. But this is working, it's not just benefiting him, it is also benefiting the CIA, who wants these weapons so that they can be spread out to the people that they think need them. Not necessarily Fisk's task force, his anti-vigilante task force that he formed last season, although they do end up with those weapons. At least the ones that don't get destroyed by Matt and Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
A later episode. But as we meet a new character to the series, Mr. Charles, which he's quite the character. He is that's not his actual name, supposedly. That's just a kind of a name that he uses in this particular. He goes by a lot of various names. He does appear in the comics though. So back in he made his first appearance in the comics back in 2013. But he works for the CIA, which means he's also, he and some other people, or at least one other person, is answering to, well, she hates to be called this, so I make sure to call her it every time she comes up, Val. So because he well, because we know Val is got her fingers in all sorts of things, as we saw with the new the new Avengers. Well, good old Val, the Thunderbolts, aka the new Avengers. But I guess apparently the Thunderbolts are not enough for Val, that she wants other people with abilities under her thumb. So at one point, Mr. Charles was sent to try to recruit Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Jessica said no. I don't think necessarily Luke gave an enthusiastic yes. It was probably more, I'll go, so that you leave Jessica and our kid alone. So yes, we find out in the time since the last season of Jessica Jones, and now Jessica and Luke got back together and had a baby, who's not a baby now. She's a little girl, Danielle.
Very cute.
Yes, Jessica's a mommy. She lives in the suburbs and still kicks ass. When she's not in her mommy wardrobe, she's still in her jeans and boots and black leather jacket. As always. Which, I mean, is canon for the comics. She and Luke do get together in at least one timeline of the comics and have a child together. But we find out that since Jessica has had her daughter, her powers have been a little more not consistent. But as Jessica tells Matt, the shit doesn't come with an instruction manual. So it's like, she may be a mom living in the suburbs, but she's, at the end of the day, she's still Jessica Jones. She has still got that just like monotone voice where, she's royally pissed off, like, all of the time. It at least seems like it. She seems to appear to suffer from chronic resting bitch face. Still drinks alcohol like it's water. Pretty sure I don't think she quite finishes that bottle she finds in that office when they get holed up in City Hall, but she comes pretty darn close. And I love her. She can still kick ass. Absolutely, she can absolutely kick ass. And she doesn't take shit from anybody. She didn't before she was a mom. She's not, that's not going to change now that she's got, a kid to take care of. Especially considering that Mr. Charles has Luke off somewhere overseas that Jessica doesn't know specifically, so she can't hunt him down. Only Mr. Charles knows where Luke is, and so she's essentially having to play single parent while Luke is off, doing the government's bidding, essentially. But and it probably doesn't hurt either, at least as far as Kristen's performance, because in the time, also since the end of Jessica Jones and now, Kristen herself has become a mom. So she had her first child several years ago. So colored her performance at least a little, I'd imagine. So this season is really the what happens now that Fisk is fully integrated into the position of mayor of New York City and has been putting, he's got his pieces in place where he wants them, and what that means. It's like everything, all the various ingredients and stuff have been like put into the pot, but now that pot is going to reach a boiling point, and when it reaches that boiling point and spills over, there's going to be collateral damage, and that's what we get from this. Because Bullseye is still out there. I love that they refer to him, it's like Benjamin Poindexter. Like Vanessa always calls him by his full name. It's like, you ever been in the same room with Benjamin Poindexter? Even in like the descriptions and stuff on like IMDb, they refer to him as Benjamin Poindexter, and I'm like, it's Bullseye. Save yourself some characters. The fact that Vanessa was the one that had Foggy killed. Now Bullseye is kind of reformed-ish, but not really. Like, he says he's one of the good guys, but at the same time, he will kill without prejudice. But pretty much everybody he kills throughout this are the task force guys. As we see, whatever the one commander's name is, he was a jackass anyway, so I don't really not lose any sleep that I forgot what his name is. He's obviously like believes in what the task force is doing. The answer to whatever Fisk or whoever asks him to do, he does it without question, even if that means injuring some of his own men. He is drunk on power and does not give a flying flip who it might hurt, or who might get stuck caught in the crossfire, because he gets to play big man, leader of the task force, big man, top of the food chain at the task force. And as things continue to escalate, and the people of New York start to fight back as best they can, we see the not necessarily everybody else in the task force is quite drunk the same Kool-Aid. That there are actually some people with morals that probably joined the task force because it meant steady work and probably a steady paycheck. More than anything, it didn't necessarily, like just hurt people for the sake of hurting people because they happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time or whatever, and they're not actually involved in whatever raid or whatever it is they're doing. And that's good. I think that's a good thing to show, instead of having kind of these large groups of seemingly mindless kind of killing machines, even though they're humans, that seem to have no conscience or morals or whatsoever. I think it's good to show that some people may end up in groups like that, but they don't necessarily, they're not completely like 100% like in, they realize that things are going to, sometimes things go too far. They're even if they're technically aren't, they're supposed to be like above the law, like laws and stuff, like as far as like warrants and stuff don't necessarily apply to them. That some of these guys are still like, well, just because it says we can doesn't mean we should, because it's not right.
Exactly. To paraphrase a certain scientist from a certain dinosaur movie.
Yeah. So I think it's good to show that even with the quote unquote bad guys, that not every bad guy is just some mindless killer like what's his face. And even Bullseye himself, like I said, before he would just kind of kill whoever as long as the check cleared if somebody hired him. But now he's gotten to the point where even he recognizes that things are getting a little extreme even for him. Once, at the very least, he wants to balance the scales. He very much is a firm believer of maybe not necessarily karma, but kind of that idea. He comes at his kind of, because we know that Matt, despite everything, still very devout Catholic. He ends up in prayer several times throughout the season, both at a church and both times actually at a church, at the same church he grew up in. So he's very, he's driven by his faith, but also he is aware that the faith can only do so much, that you still have to take action, and sometimes that action is not necessarily the most moral. As much as Matt tries to be as moral as possible, he's also aware that sometimes there are people out there that seem to have no morals, and therefore you can't necessarily negotiate with somebody who doesn't have morals, I guess. But he tries to do what he can, does, do the best he can. Bullseye, on the other hand, is like, if he feels like the scales are not balanced as far as his karma or whatever, he will do what he can and what he needs to try to balance that out. So, to balance out his killing of Foggy, ultimately helps take down a bunch of the task force. He still tried to, he still ended up killing Vanessa, which was gonna happen eventually. What's interesting is Vanessa didn't die directly because from Bullseye's hand. Like, he didn't shoot her, he didn't throw one of his knives at her. He was throwing something, and glass or crystal or whatever it was, and it ended up breaking, and it's one of the shards that managed to hit her in the right spot in the head, that ultimately killed her. Because she's Fisk's Achilles heel. She's also the one person that could kind of like reason with him. She would let him go off and do his, beat up whoever, kill whatever, if she felt that, it's like, it's necessary. But sometimes she would talk him off a cliff. And without her there, Fisk is essentially, let off the leash, as it were, and is going to act impulsively, like now 100% of the time, and there's nobody there to try him to reel him back in now that Vanessa's gone. But it is what it is. He did. We needed Fisk to go full dial it up to 11 Kingpin, so that people would see exactly who he really is, because he tries to put on this front as mayor, at, claiming how much he loves it. And he probably genuinely does love the city and the idea of New York City, but I don't think he actually loves the city and the people as they are. I think he loves an idealized version he has in his head, and he thinks he can get it there. And, ultimately he's proven wrong. That he, that what he thinks the city should be is not what the city needs. That's not what the people want. So, but it works. The once Vanessa's gone, Matt and Karen and everybody are able to, and BB, are able to use that to their advantage. It was nice to see, oh crap, what's the kid's name? Blake. To Blake? Yeah. It's played by Gandolfini's son. Michael Gandolfini, yeah. James Gandolfini's son. It was nice to see Daniel finally come to his senses. Unfortunately, it was a little too late. And it cost him his life. But at least he died, I guess, knowing that he did the right thing. Ultimately, they're able to get Fisk to. Unfortunately, Fisk does not get to see the judgment the way the law would handle somebody like him and what he did. At least in the MCU universe, unfortunately, someone like Fisk throwing the book at him and locking him in a jail cell isn't going to do anything. So, the fact that they gave him the option to slip away quietly, slip away as best as he could. He did get the shit beaten out of him by a whole bunch of very angry New Yorkers, which Schadenfreude-ish to watch that happen. Considering he had just gone on a rampage like a bull in a china shop, and just absolutely was just literally in some cases tearing New Yorkers apart, just random people. But he's off on some tropical island somewhere where he can do whatever. He'll come back, I'm sure. But for now, he's far away from people he could hurt, and he's in timeout and thinking about what he did. It just happens to be on a very, very nice white sandy beach with very blue water, probably someplace where they can deliver him drinks with little umbrellas in them. If I was going to be put in timeout, that's the kind of timeout I'd want to be put in, but still. So at least, Mayor Fisk for now is gone. But unfortunately, the fallout of everything that happened, Bullseye ends up getting recruited by Mr. Charles and is now taking the place of whatever the hell it was that Luke Cage was doing. Luke Cage is now back with Jessica and their daughter. It was nice to see Mike for a little bit there. But even without Fisk and the task force and their quote unquote laws or lack thereof are no longer in power, there's still the regular law that's always been in place, like don't steal, don't kill people, those sorts of things. And unfortunately, since Matt outed himself as Daredevil, he has to answer for those crimes that he committed as Daredevil. So Matt's in jail at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And
kind of a parallel bookend to how season 1 ended.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Matt knew what he was doing.
Oh yeah.
Did he like it that was the option he had? No, obviously Karen did not either. He and Karen are a thing now.
Yep.
So, but they're good for each other, I think.
Oh yeah.
All things considering.
I mean, I could see Karen's point, with her being upset with what he was trying to do, but then I could also see his point too with what's gone on and trying to get justice for Froggy. It's just like we can't have her, he's trying to have his cake and eat it too, and it's not working out the way he had it planned.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And that's always been kind of Matt's like issue.
His operating procedure.
His operating procedure is very much justice. Again, balancing the scales, but not the same way that Bullseye does. But Matt very much believes in the rule of the law, as long as the law is just. Unlike what the task force was doing, where what they were doing was not just by any means. It was chaos, incarnate. But Matt, like I said, Matt is also very driven by his faith and believes in mercy and grace. And even when Fisk is there, bloodied, beaten to a pulp by this mob of New Yorkers, and Matt is giving him the option to walk, be able to get out of this alive.
Yes.
And he's, and
not too
Fisk
many
is
people
like,
would do
no.
that.
Yeah, Fisk is like, no. He's like, I'm not going to give you what you want. And he's like, but what about grace? And it's like, because I mean, it did come down to there was no way he was ever going to be able to physically take down Fisk.
Right.
He had to do it via other means, and that meant going through the legal system as effed up as it was with the task force and the laws or whatever that they put on the books specifically for vigilantes, with the putting them on trial, as we saw last season with the White Tiger.
And who knows how much Valentina had a play in it,
I mean, that's the thing, is like, if Val is wanting powered people, instead of them doing this dog and pony show of taking these vigilantes and sending them to court, knowing full and well that they're going to be found guilty no matter what. Again, as we saw with the White Tiger last season, this season it's actually Karen who's the one put on trial because they managed to snag her. She happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time in front of the wrong person. But because it's also, Matt realizes that because it's turned into such a dog and pony show, that he also has the public's eye.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately because as long as Fisk has the people scared, they will do whatever based on fear. He knows that he can mold them and make them do certain things by pushing the right buttons and scaring them with the right words and the right imagery and whatever. But if Fisk can lose that power, that hold over the public, that's what's going to take him down. And that is ultimately what happens. It's just that people in New York also tend, once they're no longer afraid, they're pissed off. And that's how Fisk gets his ass handed to him by getting, for lack of a better description, he gets piled on like Mufasa with a bunch of with a bunch of buffalo or whatever stomping all over him. Yeah. Or better yet, Scar after the hyenas turn on him. So that's more like it, actually. But it does, well, Karen avoids jail, thankfully. Once things kind of settle down and the justice system sorts itself out and slides back into the way it was before, Matt has to answer for the crimes that he did commit. He was well aware. He's like, I'm committing crimes here. And is going to jail. And that's where we leave Matt at the end of the season. And it's going to be up to the his friends to figure out how to continue to keep the city safe, because even with Fisk away, the city's still not ever going to be completely safe, unfortunately. As far as storytelling is concerned, New York City, not the safest city in the world. And when you're talking about a comic book universe, there's always sorts of weirdos that come along, as we see that with the Punisher. We'll get that in a second. We do have confirmation we are getting a third season. If they're not already filming it, they should be soon-ish. We might get some news actually at D23. As far as that is concerned. Supposedly Mike and Kristen are returning as Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, respectively. But also, supposedly we're gonna get the rest of the rest, at least. Well, I say the rest of the Defenders. The only person we're missing is Danny Rand. So yeah, Finn Jones is supposed to come back as Danny Rand / Iron Fist. I don't know how this is gonna work, but supposedly Elektra, at least this version of Elektra, is supposed to be returning, even though she's supposed to be dead. But in the comic book universe, that doesn't mean much.
Yeah, even if you see the body, dead isn't necessarily always dead.
Yeah,
right.
So I mean, it would be kind of nice if we could get some of the others back too, but we'll see. I think a lot of it is going to depend on how this falls out with Frank as well. Because as we see in, the kind of special Punisher One Last Kill, which takes place on like a single day, and it's a very bad day for Frank. Although Frank doesn't really have a lot of good days either. But as we find out that, and this is why Matt's friends realize that someone still needs to help the city, is because at least in parts of New York, it is absolute chaos. Frank is living in Little Sicily, and it's just absolute chaos. There's just people committing crimes and robbing people and doing all sorts of horrific stuff. I'm glad by the end that Frank is able to help the poor homeless guy at least get revenge for what happened to his poor dog. I was like, oh no, 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 no. The minute that those guys, the one guy picked up that poor guy's dog, I was like, oh, this is not gonna end well for that dog. That's not gonna end well for this dog. And it did.
I was looking
oh.
away. I'm just like, oh, please, no. They should have had a content warning on that first thing. If you're a pet lover, please do not. Please turn away at this point. I'm just like,
be aware that like the first 5-ish minutes of this are going to be really upsetting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Poor Doggo did not deserve that at all.
Poor Camo. Yeah. Yeah. Even though you don't see anything, you hear it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you can just tell what's coming. It's like, oh please no, oh please no. Come on, John Wick. This is the time for you to pop through and kick some ass.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's absolute chaos. There's just crime everywhere. And of course, Frank is, he managed to finish off the Nucci crime family, which were supposed to be like the last people on his list as far as people directly involved with what happened to his wife and kids. But of course, Frank being Frank, he's not like resting easy now. I mean, the man's still suffering from, very, very severe PTSD. Hallucinations, both visual and sound. And it's just, he's not doing well at all. He's isolated himself, in this apartment complex. He has like nothing, and the apartment's empty. It's just this rundown place with a wall, with walls, a ceiling, and a floor. He is going to end himself, and it's because of a well-timed hallucination, I guess, of his daughter that he doesn't. He's confronted by the matriarch of the Nucci crime family. She's the only one that's survived. She reveals that she's put a bounty on Frank's head, and it's going to tell everybody where he lives, and at a particular time. And once the clock strikes that time, essentially this kind of turns into a video game. It's not a first-person shooter, because we're not, the camera's not the perspective, Frank's perspective, but it very much feels like a video game. It feels like some sort of like shoot 'em up shooter type Grand Theft Auto something video game. Once all these criminals descend upon this apartment complex, it very much what it feels like, at least to me. And it really does not stop until Frank's gone through all of these people, and taken down as many as possible, while also making sure that the other people living in the building don't get injured or killed. And he finds himself out on the street, and the guy that runs the place where he gets his coffee is getting beat up, and that guy's got a little girl that probably similar in age to what Lisa was when she died. And then he's got Manucci there, and it's like he could easily take after her. I mean, she's sitting there in her sedan. She's, a fish in a fishbowl. He could take her out if he wanted to, but he ultimately decides that, he goes and saves the guy and his make sure that he's stays alive to be able to take care of his daughter. Which just goes to show that, while Frank is dealing, has dealt with some very serious shit.
Yeah.
And is obviously very emotionally and mentally, and by the time this is over, physically unwell, that he's not completely lost his humanity. And that's what makes Frank Castle such an interesting character. And ultimately he decides that, the Punisher needs to continue, so he puts the gear back on and finds the thugs from the beginning that beat up the homeless guy and took his hat and killed his dog, and make sure that the justice is served in this case. About how Frank is going to go from that to being involved in Spider-Man, I have no idea. I have no idea how this is how these are connected to, it's like, I'm very, very interested in seeing how these are connected. Obviously the hand is kind of the thing that connects them. The hand obviously have not gone away. That might also explain how Elektra comes back, if she does, in Daredevil season 3, because the hand was involved. And we know that the hand, while they're a formidable group of fighters, there's also some supernatural stuff involved in there too. That may or may not come into play, I guess. And yeah, I'm very interested, and it'd be interesting to see how much, if any, they reference the events of Daredevil. If Peter's gonna be like, "Holy shit, my lawyer was also a superhero," because Matt was Peter's lawyer in the last movie. Caught that brick because he's a very good lawyer. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Very interesting. So, and I have honestly, I have no theories. Usually I can at least kind of come up with something. I got nothing. After watching this and then watching the Punisher special, knowing that, we're going to see Frank, soon on the big screen with Spider-Man, and after everything that happened in the last Spider-Man movie, I'm like, how are these connected? I don't understand. I have no idea. I got nothing. I got nothing. No. Yeah. But I look forward to finding out. Yeah. Especially knowing that Doomsday is what's next. Like after we're not getting anything else Marvel until Doomsday, as far as I know. So the MCU, man, I tell you what, keep things interesting. Keep things interesting. That's all I can say. I'm so glad to see Jessica. I'm so glad to see her again. I love her. She's such a bitch, but I love her. She's a bitch, but she's a bitch on the right side of things. So I give her a pass for all of that. So And I'm excited, if the rumors are true, that supposedly, Finn is coming back to play Danny Rand / Iron Fist, that we're gonna get the Defenders back together, which we've not seen the Defenders since what, 2017-ish, I think. So close to a decade. Right. Close to a decade since the Defenders were a thing. So it'd be kind of nice if they would get some more of some of the other characters, especially with Matt kind of out of commission, as it were. Especially considering we never got the Daughters of the Dragon that we were kind of not necessarily promised, but teased. But that doesn't mean that we couldn't get Colleen and Misty Knight back. So I mean, they were in the Defenders too, so it'd be kind of nice if we could get them to maybe come back too, even if it's just for this, even if we never really get the Daughters of the Dragon thing. But they're out there somewhere, and they can kick ass too. So Colleen, I think, is one of the more likely of the two, I think, especially considering she also has the power of the Iron Fist. So at least, or some version of it last time we saw her. So any more thoughts? Speculation? Lots of speculation.
Well, yeah.
That's all we can do at this point is speculate. So, which that's okay. Gives my brain something to do. Or something like that. So, well, if any of our listeners want to speculate along with us, you can send us feedback, just like Shalane did. You can email us, fivishfangirls@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, which is thefivishfangirls.com, where you can connect with all of our podcast-related social media accounts and our individual ones as well. You can also find links to ways to financially support us if you so wish, but obviously no obligation to do so. You can also, share, rate, and review the podcast on wherever you get your podcasts. That also helps too. Doesn't cost any money, just a little bit of your time. But that does help a lot as well. And then there's also the link to the book club, which we talked about earlier. So
yes,
you can go to Goodreads and keep the Whovian love going until Doctor Who comes back in some undetermined amount of time.
Yes.
Yep.
At least we got the that Renegade Doctor stuff to look forward to. That's
yes.
Or is it Fugitive Doctor? I'm sorry.
Fugitive Doctor. Yeah.
So you can consider her Renegade, the Circuit Breaker or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we're not. Just because there's not new Who on quote unquote TV, we're still getting new Doctor Who content, and it's not necessarily, Big Finish. A lot of it is the classic Doctors,
right?
But we do have the new era, revival era Doctor and companions, and units and things like that. And then we've got the stuff with the Fugitive. They just recently posted what the Fugitive Doctor's sonic screwdriver looks like.
Looks pretty cool.
The Fugitive Doctor has a sonic, and we're getting a something, because the Fugitive Doctor stuff is kind of all over the place as far as content. There's video and games you can play on the websites and stuff.
And
so
then
there's a little bit of
yeah.
everything, but the fugitive doctor is going to be teaming up with Martha Jones.
That should be good.
Yeah. So we've got the doctor, at least a version of the doctor, back with Martha. So Freema coming back for, I mean, she's come back for other stuff, but Freema's back again, doing more. So that's exciting. So until then, we will wait semi-patiently as we get to wait for fandom Christmas and then Disney fandom Christmas. So we have too long to wait for fandom Christmas. I mean, it's not this coming weekend, but the weekend after ish. So like 10 days from now is when San Diego Comic-Con kicks off as we're recording this, and then D23 is like a month from now as we're recording this. Starts on the 14th of August, so we won't have to wait long to find out what they want to tell us. Oh my. Well, if we have anything else, I guess we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany Bangles saying goodnight.
This is Sally from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Poser. Thank you, our Fiveish fam, for joining us on this week's geeky journey. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Stay connected with us on our website, thefiveishfangirls.com, and follow us on most social media with @FiveishFangirls. Plus, check out our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back, to see how we're making a positive impact in our community. Until next time, stay nerdy and let the squee continue.